Here we are. So, where I end, the writing begins. What undergoing surgery taught me about transcendence. So, just before we started, a few moments ago, we were talking about the word transcendence. Does anyone, does either of you guys think that you can explain back to me what the word transcendence means? So most of the time, I think we use the word transcendent. So let's say that's it there, probably. That's put sort of transcendent. And it's similar meaning really to transcendence. So what would you say either of those words mean then? Anyone want to go for it? Michael or Ruslan? Are you
Let me
confident?
try.
Yeah.
It's actually, to my mind, and after your explanation, I
Mm,
understand it like it is uh, uh, some some kind of subconscious condition beyond beyond something, and when it is actually when you, for example, when someone from your
mm,
family died and you are still able to communicate with them through this transcendency. It's like um, some magical power, not magical, yes, some power which help you connect with your close people who died. Yeah, like this.
right. Okay. I think there are some people who would go along with what you say. I don't know if I exactly agree with that. I think it's quite a tricky word to explain. So, Michael, do you have anything to add to that? Do you think you would agree or disagree with that, or add to it maybe?
I it's vague understanding of the word
Mm,
transcendent. It's not clear. It's vague for me.
mm,
So uh, I think I understand the verb transcend.
yeah.
Transcend. Yes. But I can say about this title. I think it's my opinion
Mm,
uh, that people when people lost something like health or life in this I think in this article
mm,
uh, people start people when they can lose
mm,
something can lose something they start appreciate it they they
yeah.
they start they try not try they will look another way on their
Mm,
life, on their relatives. So
mm,
it's like I can say it properly, like it was in the book about Little Prince, Saint-Exupéry. Oh no, it's not about this book. So no, it's no. The quote was, "When we have something, we don't appreciate it. When we
yes. Yes.
lose it, we start appreciate it." So in this in this text, sometimes we are living, we are rushing, we are working, doing something,
Mm.
and when we lose the health we start appreciate it and
It changes your perspective. Yes,
yes,
I know what
perspective
you're
and
saying. Yeah. Your
start
view on things
appreciate
change. Yes.
appreciate nature each moment, pleasure with
Mm,
some music, books,
mm,
movies, nature, rain, snow, sun. We start appreciating. but in real life, when we are healthy and we don't notice this, I think
Yes.
it's about this transformation.
That
I
sounds
think.
very interesting. Thank you very much, guys. That was really informative. Um, so one thing we think we came up with is that there's when this word is used, the philosopher uses it in a very particular way, and they have a very particular meaning. So that's in philosophy. And then people in religion, religious people tend to use this word as well, but we don't use it quite so much in everyday English. So if we go over the dictionary over here, this is the Collins Dictionary. We looked at this earlier. If I just for simplicity read this again, just give us the simple meaning of the word. So transcendence is the quality of being able to go beyond normal limits or boundaries. And they then say a synonym is greatness, excellence, superiority, supremacy. And I think they could have added a few other words in there too, but that's the simplicity. That's what they've got there. Okay, so let's read the article then. So just to mention it, so this is an article on Lit Hub or Literary Hub, which I think is an American website. I tend to think of it as an American website, and the author of the article is this one here. Um, so Diane Lebec. And then there's another little title after it here. It says, and I watched those moments unfold before me as if in real time, and I felt everything. That seems to be a quote from the article that we're going to read, I suspect. So let's roll on. So it's written about 4 days ago on the May the 7th. So over to you. Now, I've not read this. I don't know what we're going to come across. So it's over to you. Michael, you came into the class first, so it's over to you then.
Okay. When I was diagnosed with five brain aneurysms, two of which were breaking down, I wanted to fill in my arms wide and capture all the world that I'd missed. I wanted to live.
Mm.
I wanted to live. Now, there were my sons still to love, and books still to write, people to meet, woods to explore, the fungi and lichen, or what were their names, so much to learn and remember, rooms still to paint, sins to be forgiven, the stove to be cleaned, because if I died, oh God, don't let me die, the house should be clean. Right up until the surgery, my hands were fists, clasped around the heavy stones of everything I wanted, trying too hard to make a happy ending of my life, and praying to God it wouldn't come soon. I'd been living on the edge of the world, dipping my toes into its strangeness and warmth and brilliance while I dreamed and desired and fought and walked until the day, the, the hour when it came, the moment and second when everything shifted. I was lying on the Gorney, Garney, I don't know, the giant operating room, which is otherworldly machines and too many doctors and nurses to count, lay on the other side of two glass doors. And next to me, seven more nurses and doctors were scrabbling in.
Okay, great. Okay, left it there. That's good. Okay, brilliant reading. Very, very good. So anything, anything you're not sure about there, and don't say transcendence.
Two is the first sentence.
Mm.
Two of which were breaking down. Breaking down, it's rupture.
Yeah, I think so. So first of all, what is an aneurysm? And obviously, it's a brain aneurysm, or plural. So,
Aneurysms, it's
hmm
plural, yes. Aneurysm, it's medical terms. It's
yeah,
described. uh,
Aneurysm.
a
Hmm.
bulging or
Yes.
extended uh, artery,
Sort of
especially
an
artery.
unnatural, unhealthy, yeah, change in the artery. It could
It's
be
like
anywhere in the body, but it could, if it's in the brain, it's incredibly
Yes,
serious.
in brain it's life-threatening because when the aneurysm rupture, it's
Hmm.
in and it can cause strokes and death. Yeah.
Yes, it could be. You probably could die. Would almost certainly die from five of them, I thought. But when it says breaking down, to me that means they're starting to leak. That there's signs that they're starting to rupture. I'm not. I'm not quite sure really. Um, we could search that phrase, breaking down. If something's breaking down, normally it means something bad is happening. A breaking down isn't a good thing. Maybe we'll leave it at that. That's the meaning I take from that exactly. But I took it to mean that they were starting to leak blood. So once again, so an aneurysm is where the an artery in the brain is unusually large, and you would normally see that perhaps in an MRI or perhaps not really an X-ray, but you would perhaps see it in a special investigation, and you would see there was an unusually large artery in the brain, going around a curve or something like that. Yeah. Any other words then?
Maybe lichen. I
Yeah. So
fungi and lichen.
yeah, you're pretty much there. So I tend to say lichen for this word, lichen,
Lichen,
lichen.
lichen,
Yeah.
lichen.
So let's put it in
Yeah.
the dictionary. So these lichen, a little sort of, they're in a way they're a little bit like fungi or fungi. You can't really tell the difference exactly. Apart from with lichen, you normally see it on stone or bricks or on an old building, something like
The wood,
that.
some wood, and some.
I don't know. I'm not
I
if
under
it's
the
on wood, if it's on wood, I tend to think that as
yeah,
I tend to think that as fungi or fungi. So,
I know that you can recognize, you can
hmm.
find out where the nos or thous in the forest
Moss. Did you say moss? Did you say
north, no, nos, south,
Norse? Oh,
north,
north.
north. Yeah,
Has it got a
like that.
photo of it? So, yeah, so it's not really fungi, but it may well be very closely related to it. Now, interestingly, a lot of the ones they're showing are on wood, on little bits of wood and twigs. I suppose in my garden, I tend to see a circle of it growing on the path, and it's sort of like it's very hard to remove. I normally think of this as being lichen here. So, do you sort of see this thing in where you live, guys? Have you noticed this sort of stuff? It's quite small. It's not very big.
No, it's very common
Mm. Oh yeah, it's very
in
common. Yeah,
forest. In yes, it's very common. It's
yeah, yeah, extremely. Lichen is a group of small, tiny plants that looks like moss and grows on the surface of things such as rocks, trees, and walls. I think they've actually come up with this idea where lichen, it might be two things living in symbiosis. I think I'm right in saying that.
Lichen.
So lichen. There's no K there as such, but there is a C, and we tend to pronounce it as lichen. Lichen. I think I may have heard another one or two other ways of pronouncing it, but lichen is the most common. And so it could be fungi or fungi. There's two ways of saying this word, fungi or fungi. Yeah, and lichen. That was the other one. Fantastic reading. There's very little for me to point out, really. I think that's the only word I think I noticed, really. Anything else that you wanted to go back over again, I think, or that was a bit tricky? Or maybe this word here. I think when you got to this word, this is the Americans use this word. We just don't really use this word in the UK. It's just the Americans tend to use it, and it's a surgical trolley. So the patient is laying on this, and you can move them around without them having to get up and go around on it. So it's like a wheelchair, but not a chair. It's a flat bed basically on wheels, and you can move a patient around on it. Hospital, something like a hospital bed with wheels on it. Oh, and it's pronounced gurney, gurney,
Gurney.
gurney. I think you pretty much had that really when you read it. You sort of guessed it. There was this idea towards the end on that, so that comma there, it says, and next to me, 7 more nurses and doctors were scrubbing in. So when it says scrubbing in, would you take that to mean? So it's doctors and nurses.
I think I don't know. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I think
Hmm.
they are preparing to the operation and scrubbing, like
Mm.
washing hands or
Yes.
something scrub. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It is.
Scrub is special tonics or special
Mm,
shampoo with scrubs or
yeah.
gel for shower with scrubs to rub your body and
Yes.
clean.
That's the meaning I take too. So they say here in more detail, scrubbing in refers to the procedure where medical personnel prepare to enter a room, sorry, an operating room, by thoroughly cleaning their hands and arms, donning. So when you don something, you put it on your body, you don your clothes, you might say. So donning, so putting on. Sterile surgical attire. So attire means clothes effectively, and ensuring they are sterile to prevent contamination of the surgical field. This process is essential to maintain a sterile environment, protecting patients from infection and ensuring safety, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's which is exactly what you said. So scrubbing in. I don't know if I've ever heard this used in the UK. I think I have a feeling it's a bit more of an Americanism than sort of the Brits use. So you're getting a couple of American things in here, aren't you, really? Yeah. Anything else there?
I don't understand.
Hmm.
I've been living on the edge of the world. I understand it. I understood it. It's like dipping my toes into its strangeness and warmth and brilliance.
Hmm.
I dream and desire and thought and work.
Which bit don't you understand then? It's a long
Dipping,
sentence.
dipping my toes into it's like verbal expression or
Hmm.
metaphorical meaning. Dipping my toes into its
Yeah.
strange.
So it's really dipping my toes or dipping my toe, could be one toe. So if you dip your toe in something, it's the metaphor or the picture here is, I guess, is that you're about to go swimming and you don't know what the water is like, if it's really
Uh,
hot or really cold, and you just put your toe in the edge of your foot in, you might say, to get an idea of the temperature. And so if you're dipping your toe in, overall the idea here is you're just giving it a very tentative testing out of something. If you're dipping your toes, you're just trying something out to see how risky it is, how dangerous it is, that sort of a thing. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay. I like that same line. I really liked how he said the warmth. So it was very clear. Warmth. Yeah. Tri it's a tricky, can be a tricky word for some people. Warmth. Being there's only one vowel in the whole word. Maybe there was something about strangers, I think, when you said it. So just say that line again then. So I'll read it back to you. But it was the word strangeness that sounded a little bit unusual, sounded strange maybe. So I've been living on the edge of a world. So it sounds like if you're living on the edge of a world, perhaps it's like living on the edge of a swimming pool. And so when you're being on the edge, you put your foot over the edge and dip your toe into the water. So that's sort of the idea that's in back of my mind, but maybe it isn't that one she's saying anyway. So anyway, I'll carry on. No, I'll read again then. So I've been living on the edge of a world, dipping my toes into the strangeness and warmth and brilliance while I dreamed and desired and fought and worked. So she's fighting and working and dreaming, and she's living on the edge, let's say, of a swimming pool. She occasionally dips her toe into the strangeness of things. So to me, she's not really experiencing a lot. She's only dipping her toes occasionally or something. She's risk averse, I suppose. That's the idea I'm getting from that sentence, that line, I would say. Could you say sort of perhaps strangeness again, or its strangeness and warmth and brilliance, maybe that bit there?
Its strangeness and warmth and brilliance.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So I'll say it again for you. So it's strangeness and warmth and brilliance. Once more, maybe?
Its strangeness and warmth and brilliance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. Yes.
I
So,
have a question.
mm,
Uh, why there are no commas after ends? And and I dreamed and desired and thought it should be comma.
um, it is, if I was writing this, I wouldn't put a comma in. So you can debate it, yeah. Fun enough, my mum loved putting commas in different places, and so maybe you can debate it. You can debate it. I, I don't like putting those commas in there, and I think the writer is correct in doing it. This. So when you don't leaving the commas out, it sounds a little bit more like she's excited and she's listing a whole series of things reasonably quickly. Putting the commas in sort of slows it down to my mind and makes it a little less vivid, not quite so human. It's a bit sort of cold and analytical, I think, when you put the commas in. But when you leave the commas out and just says and, that's more how you talk in reality. When you're having a conversation with someone, when you're excited about something, you just sort of you say too many ands and you say things too quickly. You're not very grammatical, I think, when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
break the rules when you're sort of talking,
yeah.
communicating in real life. Yeah. Um, there was there was something else there. What was it? Anything else from either of you guys? Anything else at all? Anyone? What about this word here? It goes over two lines. That was the word I heard you say, but I didn't realize it went over two lines, so that's what I couldn't say. So what does that mean there? So it's other and then dash worldly. What does that mean?
Uh, I think it's about special robotic or special
Robotic, yeah.
robotic or special robotic equipment which helps to surgeon do
Mm,
such because it's I think it's extremely very
mm,
complicated operation on brain vessels and I think maybe other worldly machines it's like CT
mm.
MRI scan or some equipment.
Yeah, yeah. That's possible, isn't it? Okay. So let me read the line again. So the giant operating room, so that's the whole room she's in. So it's not the machinery, but the room. So the giant operating room with its otherworldly machines and too many doctors and nurses to count lay on the other side of two glass doors. And next to me, seven more nurses and doctors were scrubbing in. So there's an awful lot of doctors and nurses to deal with her. So it must be very expensive. Um, but the word otherworldly, you could say some people think of heaven as being another world. But most of the time, I think when people say otherworldly, they're thinking of perhaps where aliens might live. Aliens on another planet might. They're, so if something's otherworldly, It's so
Mm.
different from what we're used to. It's like being on another world, living with aliens or something, or perhaps. So that it could either be heaven or somewhere where God lives, or some spiritual realm, or possibly even where aliens come from. When you say the word otherworldly, so it's really very peculiar, very unusual. And so, in particular, they're saying the machines are otherworldly. So she just has not seen these machines or anything like them before. They're so strange, these machines. They could be on another planet. Aliens could have invented these machines, pretty much. But it's just the script. It's just descriptive writing, isn't it? I'm not. She doesn't really believe they came from aliens or from heaven. But there we go. And I think there was the word up here somewhere. Is that the word clasp? I liked how you said that too. So if I just it so it's another word where there's a lot of sort of synonyms. Clasp. Was it past tense? So clasped. Yeah, it's quite a bit of a tricky word. Clasped. Yeah, that's nice. I can't fit. So it's clean, but I can't see clasp anymore. So there we go. Anything else from anyone? I thought that was good reading, brilliant reading, in fact. Okay, we'll scroll on then.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's over to you, Ruslan. So it starts out with a doctor turned to me.
Okay.
We've got a shorter one here.
Yeah. A doctor turned to me and smiled. Blue scrubs, her arms covered in suds. The stones fell from my hands, the things I'd held onto so tightly. The forests I wanted to explore, the lakes I wanted to swim, the nights I wanted to fill with love-making. Oh, what burdens I shalt given up my desire and impositions, like taking off a pair of muddy boots and sitting a while finally learning to rest. The lakes were lakes, and the nights were stars, and moons, and darkness, and blankets, and rooms, and houses. My sons were each their own, and they and the day was its own, just a day. This wonderful, glorious detachment. I stopped trying. I let go. I felt peace.
Mm,
Do you want?
nice.
Okay, that's
Oh
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
might as well just stop there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So anything there you want to go back over again, or what sort of struck you, or was tricky, or anything?
Yeah. Okay.
The
Can you
meaning's a
tell me,
bit
please?
tricky anyway. But yeah, carry on, carry on.
Yeah. Can you tell me, please, if I said this correct, like
Hmm.
SADS, yeah? It's actually
Yeah, yeah, suds. That's exactly how it's said.
SADS,
Yeah,
yeah,
suds.
SADS.
And do you know what they are? What are suds?
Yeah, actually, we can make it when we swapping hands. Yeah, oh, not swapping, soaping, yeah.
Yes, yes. When you have soap and water on your hands or washing your hands, you make
Yeah,
suds. The bubbles are the suds,
yeah,
really.
bubbles here. Soaping, yeah, soaping. When we do soaping,
Soaping. I don't know if there's such a word really as such,
really?
but normally we'd just say washing, I think, really. So I've got soap in my hands. I don't know about soaping.
But Tony, when we
Yeah.
say washing,
Hmm.
it's actually does not mean that we use soap for it because we can
Normally,
use.
yeah, you're right. Normally, when
Yeah,
almost
but
always when you're
when
washing.
yeah,
So,
when I say I'm soaping, it actually means straight
hmm.
away that I do it with a soap. Yeah, or I'm
Um,
mistaken.
yeah, I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying. But here, anyway, in the dictionary, they do have the word soaping here.
Okay.
But I don't really hear it used in the way that you're saying, to
Ah,
be
yeah,
honest. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
perhaps a
Okay.
little bit more unusual.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Might it
soaping.
might be unusual.
Hmm.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, it's actually yeah.
I don't think I've ever
Sucks.
said it. I don't think I've ever said that, used that word that way. I think you know, you can do, but well, clearly it says here you can do. But if I just tap in the word, so does get mentioned twice. So it gets mentioned there. Oh, that's the only place they use the word soaping is right there. They don't give an example in these synonyms or whatever of how to use the word. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
obviously wiser than I am. I've not come across this word in using it in English anyway. Okay, so it's interesting that, very interesting. So, so that
Nice.
was suds. It was quite interesting how she said that because there's a similar word up here, but it's not the same word, but it's just similar sounding when you quickly say. So what's this word here?
Scrubs.
Yeah,
Scrubs.
yeah. Any idea? Yeah, you're
Uh,
pronouncing it spot on, I think. That's good pronunciation.
yeah, and this is a short form. We have um,
Hmm.
second sentences at the beginning. I will, I have, it's like I have held, yeah, I have held, or I would held, or
Would
it's,
hold, maybe.
I would held on,
So are you saying I would held? Is that what you're saying? I would
or
held on?
I have held,
Yeah, that sounds better. I have held, or I would
yeah.
hold, possibly. Yeah.
Is it a pass? Is it a pass? Not is it a short
Yeah.
form? Yeah, is it short form? Held, held. Yeah.
Are we talking about this word here, or are we
No,
talking about held? I'm a bit confused. A little bit.
yeah.
So
Um,
I don't think they relate, to be honest. Those words, I don't think they do.
yeah. I just, I, I was trying to
Hmm.
find out about. Yeah, this is what you highlighted. It is
Hmm.
actually. I have held or I would held because when I
Oh, here,
yeah yeah
so we don't know what that word is in a sense, but I think it's I had held, I would say. So it's past tense had,
had
not have, but I have had held in the past tense, I think. So
okay
the word held to me, sort of, the way it's written, it seems to be in the past tense, I think.
yeah
I'd
okay
held onto it. I think so anyway. I'd held. Yeah. So what about scrubs though? If we go back to that word. So it's plural.
yeah
What is
yeah when Michael read yeah and then you break it down yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There was as well like a scrubbing in, yeah, and it
Right.
means
Hmm.
when nurse and doctor uh, are going to prepare themselves do operation. It is like a disinfection, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
washing,
disinfection. Yeah.
yeah, like a washing hands,
Yeah.
like this, yeah.
So that's the scrubbing in. And this is kind of why it's like this is slightly different, I would
Yeah,
say. So this is related but slightly different.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like a noun. Yeah, it can be like a cream. Yeah, as
Yes.
well.
I would say I would say this is a noun. This is only a noun in this case here.
Yeah.
So they're giving it a color and they're saying blue scrubs. I don't really know if we use this phrase in English that much, in England perhaps I should say. But we definitely hear, if you watch television from America and it's something to do with doctors and hospitals, they often talk about blue scrubs or getting into scrubs. So my understanding is the scrubs are the outfits, are these sort of outfits that doctors or a surgeon, let's say particularly a surgeon might put on, I should say. So this is the surgeon's uniform, you could say, when they're performing some
For
surgery.
example, Tony,
Yeah, go
it
on.
might be it might be as
Mm.
well like a gloves. No gloves. Ah, no,
So
no,
these are
no.
the photos here. So and it's for whatever reason it seems to be always blue. So it's a
Yeah.
sort of like a top, trousers, men and women, nurses. This is it. I don't know. I think with the gloves, they have to be surgical gloves, and they have to be of a certain quality. And so I think talk about them differently. I think,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
and
Blues.
sometimes they put on double sets of gloves for protection, etc. Okay. So I don't know how often we say this in the UK. If you went to a British hospital, if they say it now, I think we've borrowed it from the Americans. I don't think we necessarily would have said this before, but we do now, I think. I'm guessing now, really, to be honest. So what I thought was interesting, so it says scrubs, and then fairly quickly after it then says suds. So there's a sort of a not exactly poetry, but it's sort of like an anti-poetry here. Scrubs and then suds, maybe.
Yeah, and
Yeah, carry on.
so short sentences and the middle
Hmm.
or of want want burdens burdens
Yeah, I think
burden
you said when you read it out. I think you pretty much had it there. That's it. That's the word. Yeah. So burden.
burden.
So it's any kind of a weight as a burden. So you may talk about your problems in life as being a burden. Your
Burden.
bills that you have to pay. Oh, this burden I have, bills.
Yeah, like a problem. Yeah, like
Yeah,
a
That's it. A problem. That's another way of putting it. Yes.
burden. Burden. Yeah,
But then there
burden.
was a word following it though. So do you fancy just rereading that little half a sentence there again?
Okay. Oh, what burdens I had given up my desires and
Yeah.
impositions.
Yeah. I like that. That's pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it really. So impositions.
Oh,
Impositions. Yeah, that's basically what
impositions.
you said. So if I read the whole thing back to you, so oh. So when you say oh with a comma after it, it's sort of oh
Mm.
no kind of. There's a certain emotion to that. Exactly what the emotion is, it's hard to know, but you have to sort of guess there's some sort of emotion, and hopefully the rest of the sentence will reveal what that emotion is. So, oh, what burdens I shed, giving my desires and impositions. Sorry, giving up. I missed out the word up, didn't I? So, oh, what burdens I shed, giving up my desires and impositions. So, what does impositions mean? Any idea?
Impositions.
Tricky.
Impositions.
So,
Like
hmm.
prefer do something prefer do something what you really want, but uh,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
forget and forget about the other things which is important as well for you. Yeah, bro.
Hmm. That's a good way of looking at it, actually. I like that. But also, there's a great deal of it's you and somebody else normally we'd think about with impositions. So if I just so this was a noun as well. So verb, and there's no noun side to it. It's just a verb, saying according to this. So impositions. Okay, so as but it really comes down to impose. So if you impose something on people or on someone else, effectively, you use your authority to force them to accept it or that thing, whatever it is. So you might impose taxes, and down here it does in fact say charge, tax, duty, or burden. This is normally something that is done, you're doing it to somebody else. That's the way I think of it here. But when they say imposition, I should say, or at least the way she's used the word imposition in that sentence. So the other one here is, okay, if you impose your opinions or beliefs on other people, you try to make people accept them as a rule, or as a model to copy. So I might force you to believe something or try to force you. If
Like
something in, yeah, carry on.
it's like the way encourage people, but not in a good way, in a bad way. Yeah, encourage to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah. You don't. If you want, it's best not to impose things on people on the whole, because it will make them unhappy, I would suggest, and they might fight against. But certain times, let's say in war, you don't really have any option, but you might have to impose things on people in a war situation. But when she talks about impositions, it's so oh so I suppose and imposition. So I suppose these are things that people have forced her to do, like pay your taxes maybe, or be nice to people that you don't really like, possibly, or all sorts of rules that we sort of follow we don't really like. So, oh, what burdens I shed, giving up my desires, those things that she wants, and I guess you could say the impositions are things that other people want. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then she gives an example, like taking off a pair of muddy boots and sitting a while and finally learning to rest.
Mm.
This is interesting. The lakes were lakes, and the nights were stars and moons and darkness and blankets and rooms and houses. My sons were each their own, and the moon was its own. Just a day, just a day. This wonderful, glorious detachment. I stopped trying. I let go. I felt peace.
Mm.
This is an attempt at sort of almost poetry here, isn't there, really? I suppose.
Yeah. And the last one about detachment. Detachment. It's actually
Mm.
what does it mean?
Um, being separated, a
Detached.
state of being separated.
It's like a house. Yeah, detached house. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
yeah. We talk
Yeah,
about detached houses, so it's
yeah,
a house not attached to another house. Yeah.
yeah,
We also
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about semi-detached houses. So on
Mm.
one side they are attached to a house, but on the other side they're not attached, so they're detached on one side.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're detached, you might say, "Oh, I'm detached," or "This person's detached." It means they're sort of a little bit isolated. They're remote in some regard. They're not related to. They're not relating to other people's
For
problems.
example, Tony,
Yeah.
can I say
Hmm.
I would like to be detachment today? Is it? Is
You
it?
could you wouldn't say it that way, but you might say, I'd like to be detached
Ah,
today.
I
Attached.
would like to be detached today. It don't bother me. Yeah, for
But
example.
no, you would never actually say that. Um, uh, I suppose, let's think about the word detached. I suppose if there are only certain situations it would be used, and I don't think it would be, I don't talk about yourself, I want to be detached today. Or at least it just sounds rather odd. Anyway, so I've put in the word detached here. It's come up with a few usages of the word. Detachable lenses, that sounds like something you might use in your glasses or something. Detached eddy simulation, detached garage, detached house. So I wonder if it has to be a noun. I don't know really. If you detach one thing from another, that is fixed to you remove it.
Like
Um,
a split, is split, yeah, something.
something, yeah, something's not connected. Something's split,
Split.
potentially split. You might detach something so that you
It's like
split it off. Yeah, yes, Michael.
it's like opposite, like attachment, attach,
Yeah, the opposite of
detach,
attach.
Touch,
attach.
Hmm.
touch.
I don't know if you'd use it the way I don't. Well, you can't. I've never heard anyone use it the way that you just mentioned. I want to be detached today. It would sound rather odd. Um,
Okay,
want
it's actually in different context, yeah.
to- just trying to think what you might say in that situation. I want to be. I'm. I don't, I'm feeling rather odd today. I would rather no one have anything to do with me. I suppose you might say disengaged. I don't know. I don't know really. I don't know. I want to be separate from other people today, you might say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something like
Probably
that.
separate, yeah, is okay. Yeah, I want to be
Yeah.
separate, yeah.
Say detached.
Detached. For
Yeah.
example, I can use it with
Mhm.
some things like I need to have that one and this one detach
Mm.
detached, yeah, that
Yeah.
one
Yes.
of it one detached
Yeah.
oh
I
yeah,
need
like this,
this and this detached. That sounds, or that and that detached. That sounds like a good possible
yeah.
use for it. Yes. So maybe it's just sort of nouns where they're inanimate objects or something like that. Or more often they're used in that regard. So, hmm. We've got some synonyms down here talk about separate, free, remove, divide. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the article again. So it's sort of being trying to be somewhat poetical or poetic, I think, and I think it's achieving that. It is the right sort of balance here. So she had all these ideas and feelings about, and she ends up saying, "I felt peace" at the end of this little paragraph here. But it all started from this little bit here at the very beginning. A doctor turned to me and smiled. So that's all the doctor's doing. Didn't seem to say anything. And then she seems to be describing the doctor, I guess. So if I read again, so a doctor turned to me and smiled. Blue scrubs, her arms covered in suds. And then she starts talking about herself. The stones fell from my hands. Is that right? The stone fell from my hands. So what's that got to do? Why is she carrying stones in her hands into the doctor's surgery or into the where she's going to be an operation take place? So what are these stones, do you think? The stones fell from my hands. Why
People,
do you think she says that?
I know people prefer keep some something which bring them lucky.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a possibility. She may be holding something in her hand when she's going into surgery. But I think the doctors would have told her probably don't do that because it might be unhygienic, might not be very clean. So I think it might be sort of in her mind, the thing she's holding on to. Often stones are quite heavy, I suppose, aren't they? So maybe she could say the stones or the burdens she was holding in her hands, she just let them go because she's facing death here, isn't she? Mind you, the doctor's being very pleasant, smiling at her. So it's an interesting little write-up, this, isn't it? It's worth reading it twice. We're reading it just the once to try to get the meaning out, and yeah. So anything else you want to ask about here or talk about here, Ruslan or Michael, really?
You know, when I read the second time this, I think the
Hmm.
author described the state when she goes into anesthesia,
Mm. Mm.
maybe. You know,
Ah, okay.
I don't know, but
Ah,
I
yes.
had
I
a, I had
yeah.
I have thought when it's uh,
Yes. Yes. That's a possibility, isn't it? I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point there. So Michael is saying, I think you're saying, Michael, that this, perhaps from here on, she might be talking about the anesthetic starting to take effect,
yeah,
and her mind is going into a more dreamy. Well, it's amazing if she can remember her dream that she had when she was under the doctor's knife.
and
So yeah, that's fascinating. It's possible, isn't it? So let's roll on. So we've still got more. Oh no, it's actually gone 7 o'clock. We've actually been at this for about an hour. Amazing. So if you're still able, we can carry on. Perhaps another paragraph or two each, if you want to. If you have to go, please do just go. That's okay. Um, if you're up to it, do you want to read a little bit more, Michael? To there, or maybe another one, perhaps, or over to you if you can.
okay. In the operating room, a beautiful nurse with brown skin and green eyes asked me my favorite song. I told her, "What a wonderful world." She said that song to play from her phone, then sat beside me and held my hand. I saw my oldest son and me dancing at his wedding, surrounded by those we loved. I saw myself dancing in our yellow kitchen while my three sons sat at the counter eating grilled cheese. Mouthful, body stroking from side to side as Louis Armstrong sang on.
Yes, brilliant. Do you want a bit more, or is that it? Is that it? Is that we stopping?
Maybe Ruslan.
Do you want to read the next one, Ruslan? That bit there,
Yeah,
Ruslan?
okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. I knew going into the surgery that I might lost my eyesight. After the 7 hours procedure, I I walk in the operation room. So many tubes from my body, so many machines. There was my surgeon walking towards me. I can see you, I exclaimed. His eyes brown and tender, his thin white hair like Einstein's, Einstein's. Yeah.
Nearly. So we just missed the s, the plural, or the possessive s. So it's Einstein. 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 We'll try it
Yeah.
again.
I, Einstein's.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Einstein's. So that's the famous theoretical physicist,
Yeah,
scientist,
actually, it
basically.
is true what Michael said before, yeah, that
Mm.
he is slowly get into anesthesia, yeah?
The anesthetic is
The
slowly taking
anesthetic
effect.
yeah,
Yes,
condition, yeah?
it's possible. Yeah, there's definitely a possibility. But In the bit that Michael read up here, so it can be quite sudden, the anesthetic, the effect the anesthetic has. So it
Mhm.
sounds a bit odd when, in the sense that this nurse asks her what's her favorite song, and she answers, "What a Wonderful World." That's the name of a song, "What a Wonderful World." And she seems a bit too conscious in a sense. And she set the song to play from her phone. That would have taken, if someone asked me to find a song without me knowing what the song would be, it would take me a good minute or two to tap in "What a Wonderful World," or even just
But
say it into your phone onto the correct app or website. I can see
but
it's taking a few minutes, for me
but
anyway.
Tony, if
Yeah, go on.
she set it on her phone,
Mm. Or in any phone, yeah.
if the nurse set the song to
Mm.
play from her phone, yeah, we have here
Yeah.
her phone. She set the song to play from her phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Yes, it's her phone. Yes. Yes. So maybe it's she's has a has a minimal dose of the anesthetic, and she's just sort of, they haven't given her quite enough. I don't really buy it, to be honest. I don't really read it that way. I Because here she says, "I saw my oldest son and me dancing at his wedding." Um, because maybe they had this piece of music at the wedding. I don't know. Perhaps. Yeah, interesting. So this chap here, this chap is a person, Louis. So this is normally it's pronounced as Louis Armstrong, Louis, not really Lewis, but Louis. He's a famous trombone player, I think, was it, and trumpet player. I think it was a trumpet player from America. Um, absolute genius. Basically, uh, and I think I'm right in saying, when he made this song, he didn't realize it was going to be so popular. And people were shouting out to him, "Hey, play the song, play the song." And they didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't know what they were talking about. And eventually they worked out after a few days. They were shouting out to him, "Oh, play this song." Um, uh, and only then did he realize it was such a brilliant song and it was so popular. So Louis Armstrong, yes.
It's a sibling of Neil Armstrong.
A sibling of who?
Of Neil Armstrong, the first man to.
No, not at all. They're not
Joke.
related. Not
Joke.
related. I think he might have been born in the 1920s, this guy, or perhaps even the 30s. I don't really know. And he would have died a few years ago. But yeah, Louis Armstrong. What a wonderful. He had a very growly, gravelly voice. Okay.
I see
Yeah, yeah. I can't.
trees
No
of
one can copy.
green, roses, red roses too. I see them bloom
Yes, yes,
for
yes.
me and you.
So, so it's a
I
trumpet he
think to
played.
myself,
Yeah.
what a wonderful world.
What a wonderful world. And it was also called Satchmo. Satchmo, where my cursor is, or pointer is, Satchmo. Yeah, and Pops as well. I wasn't sure of that, but yeah, so jazz trumpeter. So Satchmo is short for something like satchel mouth. He could make his mouth stretch so much. I mean, that was a side effect of playing the trumpet. So he was, yeah, so there we go. Oh, so he died in 1971 and he born in 1901. Wow. So he was 70 years when he died. Pretty much 70 when he died. So yeah, so Satchmo stands for satchel mouth, is my understanding anyway. So a satchel is a big bag, a big leather bag. So fantastic reading there, guys, I thought. I noticed when you got to you got to this word. So this is I exclaimed, exclaimed. So if you shout out something or call out something, you exclaim it. And really, whenever you have um, that mark there, you can call that an exclamation mark. That is an exclamation mark, I should say. Forgot what that was called. So it's called an exclamation mark. Um, and this little bit here, so I think you might have said loss. So loss. I think he said I might loss or something. Was it Lou?
I might lose my eyesight. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's
probably I said lost. Yeah,
I can't remember now. Something strange happened here. I can't think what it was now. So loss would be double S on the end. And so
yeah,
this is lose, this word here. But if there was another O, that would be loose. So loose and loss, they're quite similar sounding. So maybe I'm not quite sure if I heard which word I heard now, but that sounded a bit, doesn't sound quite right. But and maybe the word just below it too, that word there. I notice this sound of this word is tricky for a good number of people. So maybe if I just read that half a sentence there, just for practice, to
yeah.
get this the B word. So many tubes from my body, so many machines. So it's the word body,
But
body, body. I think there's a vowel sound in the middle. Didn't sound quite right. So just try it again.
yeah,
So many tubes from my body, body. Over to you. Okay.
so many tubes from my
Yeah, that's it.
body.
That's
Yeah, I remember I said body, not
yeah.
body,
Yeah,
body.
that's it. You weren't quite saying buddy, but yeah, somewhere between the two. That was it. It was a little bit out. That's it.
Body.
Well spotted. Yeah. So, and I noticed, Michael, when you read this bit here, when you got to the word counter, it didn't sound quite, you weren't quite so sure. So, are you okay with this little bit here?
Counter, counter.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you're counting money, it's the same, different meaning, but the same sound anyway. So, count and counter, count and counter. So, counting money.
Counter, yeah.
Yeah. But
It's
here,
a surface of the
that's
kitchen.
it. Yeah, that's it. It's a
But
surface counter.
I miss this canteen. I canteen counter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because it is in a kitchen, so might
kitchen, yeah.
think of it being in a. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Guys.
Anything in these paragraphs you want to ask about or talk about? We haven't already mentioned.
Tony,
Mm.
could you say please again procedure, yeah?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yes,
Procedure.
procedure. Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, hour long.
Okay.
So
Yes.
after the 7 hour procedure,
Procedure.
procedure.
It's
Yeah.
actually a long time, yeah, seven
Yeah.
hour.
It's pretty much a whole day, isn't it? Really, a working day anyway. Crumbs. Mm. I can see you. So that's why she said, I can see you. So she hadn't lost her eyesight. Yes, fantastic. And his hair was like Einstein. So Einstein is a famous theoretical physicist. So he sat down at a desk and sort of tried to work out the nature of matter and nature of things with his pen and paper. But he's famous for having crazy hair. When he got older, his hair was very all over the place, a bit sort of chaotic looking. So his hair was chaotic, but the brain inside his head was of the standard of a genius, you could say. Have you heard of Einstein? A famous
Yeah,
theoretical physicist. Okay.
theory of relative.
Yeah, that's right. Relativity, standard. Yeah, that's right. Special relativity and
Yeah,
relativity. That's it. Yeah, that's what he's famous for. And the electrostatic was electro, and he got a yeah, yeah. So he's famous for a good number of things. So how about eating cheese, eating grilled cheese? Ever done that?
I don't know what is this. I
Oh,
understand, but
yeah.
in my culture, I don't know. In my maybe Ruslan know about
Yeah.
grilled cheese,
Okay.
grilled meat, grilled chicken. Yes, it's I understand, but grilled cheese. mm, Sometimes we use cheese.
Yeah.
We melted we melted cheese
Mm.
for some for
Dishes.
co- yeah, for some dishes like for
Yeah.
pizza or some for covering some
For pizza, did you say?
pizza, yes, or
Yeah, but you
potatoes.
you put you put the cheese on the pizza and then you cook the pizza, don't you? And then it melts when it's on the pizza. But yeah, oh, that's it. Yeah, carry on. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it's saying eating grilled cheese. Yeah. So
Grilled cheese.
Ruslan, can you fill this in? Does it mean anything to you? Eating grilled cheese? Do you know what they're talking about?
Cheese, yeah, it's actually uh,
Hmm.
I think it is cheese
Mm-hmm.
cooked on a grill, yeah, and it became melted, and then
Yes.
they eat, yeah, yeah, like this.
Okay. Okay. So you're basically describing those what's written in that little passage there. So to enhance your grilled cheese experience. So they're talking about putting it in soups, salad, veggies, dips, desserts. Well, that's what AI says, but AI is famous for mistakes, isn't it, I think?
Mhm.
I tend to think of it as on bread. And
Mm.
most people will think about, when they say grilled cheese, they really mean cheese on toast, is what I would say. But I might be wrong. I could be completely wrong here. So if you know differently, do correct me. Do correct me in that. But that's what I take it to mean. So it's cheese on toast, or in this picture here, I think it's cheese in the cheese sandwich basically. Let's look for some images. So a cheese sandwich, but that has been grilled. So I can't quite see. I think that's one slice of bread and the cheese is on the top, I think there. But these other ones look like they're cheese sandwiches. So it's cheese in the middle between two slices of bread, and then the bread is toasted. And so you do the cheese is grilled, but it's in between the two pieces of bread. That's my understanding of the word of the phrase or the name, I should say, perhaps even. And here it says here, so the best grilled cheese you've ever made. And here it is between two pieces of bread. In the UK, we say cheese on toast. That's what we say. But we don't really, I don't think we normally say grilled cheese. But in America, that's sort of what it means, in my understanding. You can even buy a grilled cheese sandwich maker. Yes, I actually have one thinking about it, but I just don't use it. So
I
let's
think we
click on
have
it.
we have
You have one. Yeah, so here
yes,
you go. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
yeah, 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 yeah. My daughter very often use it.
it's
Yeah,
very, very
sandwich. Yes,
tasty.
yes,
Yeah,
with cheese, with sausage, some
yeah.
type of sandwich. Yeah, it makes sense.
That's it. Of course, you can't put anything in between the two slices of bread. So we can just see the upper slices of bread here after it's been toasted in this machine. But there's bread on the underside which you can't see, and trapped between the two is whatever you want to put in there. So it talks about cheese here, but as you said, it could. I've put all sorts. I've put bacon in there. I've never put sausage in, as you said you've done, Michael. But
No,
or your
I mean
daughter.
bacon. I mean bacon or
Oh, bacon. I've definitely put. I think I've put bacon in. I don't remember now, but ooh, I'm getting hungry just looking at this. But I haven't used it in years, actually. One of the problems is that this looks perfectly clean. It doesn't look like it's ever been used, and yet there's all this food in here having been clearly cooked. The one big problem is that this surface, when you cook it, it tends to stick to the top and the bottom. These plates tend to get covered in bits of bread and cheese. So how do you keep it clean?
I think it's the surface of this machine
Hmm.
covered by special material because we don't suffer from cleaning. After preparation,
Hmm.
you you wipe with wet cloths,
Hmm.
and it's enough. So it's not
Yeah.
the cheese and bacon. It's not sticking to the this surface. I don't know. Maybe it's special material.
Yes. So there is something called a non-stick. You can get a non-stick pan, non-stick, so it doesn't stick. And I suppose you can also talk about a non-stick surface. So there's something called, is it PTFE? I think they call it, let's write that down. So a non-stick surface is, whoops, PTFE. So this is a chemical, special material, and o- often saucepans can be covered in this, and it's a very hard material, very long wearing. It doesn't melt in the heat. It's very long lasting. PTFE. I think it's polytetrafluoroethylene is what it stands for. Polytetrafluoroethylene. And I think they
And
also put it on the surface of the Apollo rocket when it was coming through the Earth's atmosphere, stop it from burning up. But they also use it in these pans, almost indestructible material. But the problem is, it's too indestructible. It never wears away. It sort of lives almost forever, for thousands of years, and it can pollute the environment. So we have to be careful about these materials, I guess.
Think you can try to spray it by
Mm.
oil before
Yes.
you
Yeah.
cook,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
think that's what I do. Yes, when I have done in the past. But I think olive oil can smoke a little bit, so you have to be careful what oil you're using and think about the heat of it, I think. So what
for
oil can you
example,
use?
butter, no,
Oh, okay, butter's possible, yeah. Any other oils or
no,
mm,
sure, no.
can you use olive oil or
I
Mm,
use my wife use.
olive oil?
Yes, and
What about
she
sunflower? Would you use sunflower oil in that
yes
situation?
sunflower, but oil it's more healthy.
Yeah, olive oil is healthier.
And when we try,
Polyunsaturates, is it?
sorry,
So what makes olive oil healthy then?
then sunflower, then sunflower oils.
Oh, compared to sunflower oil. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yes, and uh, yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't
Strange
know.
how we're talking. Yeah. Strange how we're talking about what this really meant, and then we're talking about sunflower oil compared to olive oil. Very strange, isn't it? How conversations go. So this article, it's probably worth reading the rest of it, but in truth, we will probably never come back to this story. So it's an interesting write, interesting story there. So she looks like a very good writer. And if I go back to the beginning again, I believe she has written some books. So Diane Lebec, I say Lebec perhaps, Diane Lebec. Here we go. Right, okay, so let's stop the class there. So we'll stop the recording.